Yay. Okay. So this file is not magical. As several of you have said, it's just a box. It's just a box. That's what it is. It is a file that I have taken the time to get set up so it will print correctly for you. That is the magic of this file. I'm going to show you how to print correctly anyway, but so this is what we're doing for the moment. For the moment, grab your hand tool or your what's properly called your pan tool. It is the H key for a hotkey, or you can click on the little picture of the hand and just drag it away. You're going to do your assignment in the box, but we're going to just play to the side of the box for now. Okay. Okay. For this assignment, layers and classes don't matter. If you are determined that your work is on your own layer or your own class, you can do that. I'm going to just remind you how. Window palettes navigation. If it's on already, it'll have a check mark and you don't need to click on it. Mine's turned off at the moment. So navigation, if you double click on either classes or layers, I'm going to create a layer for the moment, and I'm going to just call the layer Chris, because it's my layer. Okay, and now I'm drawing on Chris's layer. And I could also create a class that is practice and one that is Vectorworks assignment 1. Vectorworks 1. Okay?
Is there any way you can hold on for like 1 second?
Sure.
I don't have anything up yet. I'm
still downloading? Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. Again, you do not need to create your own layer or class. That was just kind of a review from last time. You're there. Does everyone else have the box up on their screen in Vectorworks? Anyone who's still waiting? Okay. Okay. So I did. You don't need to, but I did. Okay. So I am going to just be on my practice, and I'm going to be on Chris because that's me. What we're doing today is we're just going to start exploring some of the basic tools. By the way, because there are several of you that I can't see because of the computer monitors, and I have to be sitting down so I have my computer. If you have a question, shout it out. Okay, and I'm going to do my best to repeat the questions because the microphone does not pick up that way very well, but it picks up my direction pretty well. Okay, we're going to learn some of the basic drawing tools. We are working in 2D today, not 3D. Okay, we'll get to 3D. Okay, but we're going to start with 2D. It makes a little more sense. Okay, so hopefully everyone has their basic tool palette out. I'm going to close it just in case you don't. But if you go Window, Palettes, Basic, that's our basic tool palette. It usually, the default is it pegs to the upper left-hand corner of your screen. That doesn't mean yours is actually there, but that's the default. So everyone see their basic tool palette? It's where our selection tool, which is the arrow, our pan tool, which is the hand, are located. And it may have a scroll bar. There may be more tools. If you grab underneath it, you can adjust the size of it. I like to see all of my basic tools because, well, frankly, they're my basic tools. They're the ones that do probably 70% of the things you're going to do in Vectorworks. Okay, so we're going to start with the line tool. The line tool just looks like a line going diagonally from upper left to bottom right, and it's called the line tool. I'm going to click on it, and before I click on it, I want you to look right here where currently my screen says Pan Tool. Okay, because that was the last tool I selected. I select the Line tool, and that changes. We've now got a bunch of boxes over here. Okay, the first thing I want to look at is the box with the pencil and the wrench. Okay, go ahead and click on that. That is our preference tool. In this case, it is a really boring tool because all it says is line scale factor. 1 is actually what we want it to be. But anytime you see that, that means you can set some defaults so that every time you access a tool, those defaults will be preset for you. At the moment, scale factor 1 is an excellent scale factor. I don't know why you'd want it to be anything else. I was actually surprised there was an adjustment there. Okay, next to that, we've got two boxes. We see a little divider line, and then we've got two boxes. The first one, which is the one, is the tool, and it says it's vertex mode. Click the start point, then click the end point. That's telling you how this tool works. You might say that sounds really lame, but let's go ahead and do it. We've got that tool selected. We're going to click one point, move the mouse somewhere else, click again. We have just drawn a line. Anyone have trouble drawing the line? Great, okay? I know that's not a terribly exciting thing. It draws a line. Well, yeah, it does, okay? Let's go select the other tool, which is called center mode, okay? Center mode, and if we mouse over and hold our mouse, it'll tell us exactly what it does. It says click the center of a line, then click the end point. So this is going to allow, we've got it selected. I click, and I draw. Notice as I go away from where I clicked first, my line gets bigger in both directions because I select the center and then I select the end point. Again, not super magical. I have to tell you, with the exception of the times I'm showing this tool to a class, I have used this tool exactly never. The draw from the center. I'm sure it's useful for something. I've never found it. But that's me, okay? If you're like, yes, I want to draw all my lines from the center, draw all your lines from the center, okay? I'm going to go back to my endpoint mode because that's the way I like to work, okay? And then over here, we've got two other modes. This is the unconstrained mode. That's what it defaults to. That lets you draw, I happen to draw my line straight, but I can draw it at an angle. Doesn't matter, okay? That's lovely. If you are drawing something, you're saying, what I am drawing is absolutely straight to the left or straight to the right, or straight up or straight down, I can use my constrained mode, okay? This is going to limit it to 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 90s, and their multiples. So I can now draw a line, and I draw a line. Okay, I don't want to go straight, I want to go at an angle. I keep bringing my mouse down, it doesn't move until I get far enough, it goes, oh, you want to go to 30 degrees. No, I want to go to 27. Well, it won't let me. Okay, 30, 45, 60, which is obviously 30 doubled, 90, which is 45 doubled, etc., all the way around the circle. Okay, that is a mode I do use frequently. It can be very nice to draw something and not have to worry about what angle I'm drawing it at. Okay? But for the moment, I'm going to put it back into unconstrained mode, and I'm going to show you yet another way to draw a line. Let's say you want to draw a very specific line. I'm going to click and start my line. I'm still in unconstrained mode. I click, I move it. Notice I get a little pop-up box. It says L, in my case, L colon 2.24 inches, A colon 0.00 degrees. The L stands for length and tells me the length of my line. The A stands for angle and tells me the angle that my line is at. If I hit the tab key, notice that the 2.24 now lights up.
What's tab?
What's tab? The tab key on your computer.
Like return, you mean?
No, it should be above your caps lock. Okay? Everyone find their tab key? Okay. So now I can type something in there. I would like this line to be 7.75 inches. And I hit tab. And now my line is 7.75 inches. That circle says, these are all the places I can click to make my line 7.75 inches. If I happen to know my angle, I can also type that in. I would like it to be 7.75 inches or 7 3/4 inches at a negative 75.22 degrees. No idea why, that's an odd number, but there it is. Okay, and there it is. You'll notice that I've hit tab again and I get more choices. The next choice is delta X. Anyone know what delta means? You're supposed to?
Yeah.
Okay. Delta means change in. So I can also tell what my change in my x-axis is and my change in my y-axis. Okay. I rarely find those useful, but they're there. Okay. I don't think. Oh, yep. And I can get my final x coordinate, my final y coordinate. Because this is a giant sheet of graph paper, you just can't see it. And eventually you go back to the beginning. So if you go too far, you just keep hitting tab till you get back to where you want, or you can hit shift tab and go backwards. So I have created my line 7 3/4 inches long at negative 75.22 degrees. 0 degrees is to your right as you're looking at the screen in a plan view. And click, and there's my line. Lovely. Okay. Do I want to back up? Sure. Sure. It's a lousy place to save a backup. And I should tell you, I mentioned when you're working on a file, obviously today you downloaded to the computer, it was probably in the downloads folder, and then you're working on it. If you are the type of person who keeps your file on a USB drive, I highly recommend moving it from the drive onto the computer while you're working on it and then copying it back when you're done. Vectorworks gets a little grumpy if it doesn't have 100% fast access to its files at all times. So, okay. Okay, I'm going to delete a whole bunch of stuff. These lines are lovely, but I don't want them anymore. So to delete, I'm going to go outside my lines, and I'm going to click and drag a giant box. Everything within that box is now orange, which means it's selected. And to get rid of it, I hit delete or backspace.
That box, does it have to be entirely in the box?
It has to be entirely within the box.
I just learned that.
If it's not entirely in the box, it will not be selected, which is both occasionally annoying, but often very helpful. Because I was trying to delete something yesterday and I had all in the middle of a whole complicated thing, which was all in the same class and all in the same layer, because it was all the same thing. And yes, I was able to draw my box very carefully, so I got just what I wanted inside of it.
How did you do make the one selection box?
Click and drag. You have to select your arrow tool first, your selection tool first, which the shortcut is X. That is one, it's the only one that I absolutely say you should memorize, because getting back to your selection tool is super common. Okay, so we drew a line. We can do everything we need to with a line. We can, it works. But there are better tools. And when we start moving into 3D, there are reasons to use the right tool for the job. Okay, so let's say I want to draw a rectangle. I could draw 4 lines, right? That'd be a rectangle. But in the world of Vectorworks, that would still be 4 lines. Whereas if I select the rectangle tool, which is called the rectangle tool, and it has a bunch of modes. We're going to start with the default mode, which is corner to corner. Clicking corner 1, clicking corner 2, and you have drawn a rectangle. Okay? Isn't that exciting? Or not? Okay? Again, you also get the little boxes. You can type in, it's delta X, delta Y. One thing to remember, if you want the box to go up on your screen, that's a positive number, and to the right is a positive number. Left and down are your negative numbers. Okay? You can type in your dimensions. 5, 5. Yay, I've created one. Now notice when it's over top of this, well, there's yet another box. Notice that the one I drew last is on top. Okay, we can't see through them. 2-dimensional objects are solid unless we do something about it. And that means they stack on top of each other. If you drew this thing and you say, yes, it's a 2-dimensional object, but I want it on the bottom, I want to show you how you can do that. Does everyone have a couple boxes drawn so you can do this? Great. Modify, send, and we have send to front, send forward, send to back, send backwards. Forward and backward just move it one, of all the 2D objects, it just moves it one space up or down. But if I want to send it all the way to the back, send it all the way to back, that makes it the very bottom object. And now this little rectangle is under these other rectangles. Okay. Not something you have to use a lot, but you should know it's there. Because there are a couple times when there are a couple years where I forgot to teach students this, and I get I had to redraw all this stuff because I drew it in the wrong order. No, you didn't, but that's okay. So we showed you that. Okay. Let's go back to our rectangle tool. I'm just going to quickly go through the modes, and then after this I'm going to stop doing all the modes because you see they're here, right? You guys can figure them out. And don't ever be afraid to try it. Say, I wonder what this mode does. Okay? Because when I started using Vectorworks, only the first and fourth mode existed. And then for a while it was, I don't remember which of those middle two came next. But so the next one is center to corner. And again, it tells you how to do it if you hold the mouse over it. Okay. But it's center point and a corner point. And it draws it. Center bottom to one corner. I have no idea why you need that, but there it is. But it's there. Obviously someone needed it because they invented it. The rotated rectangle tool is 3 points. This is one where the hover text is really nice because it reminds you the order that you're clicking in case you don't remember. But drag from one corner to create a rectangle. So you do, you do bottom, and then you give it a dimension. Okay. Lovely. We've just made a whole bunch of rectangles. Isn't that fun? Okay. Last thing I want to show you, that if you're trying to create a square, you start and then hold down the shift key, it'll make it square. Yay. Okay. So how do I get rid of all these annoying rectangles? Yep, we'll use our X key or our arrow selection tool and draw a big box that encompasses all of them. Okay. And if you don't want to do that, if you're like, I don't want to draw a box, you can also click and hold down the shift key and then click the next one, click the next one, click the next one, click the next one. And that's the other way you can grab multiple things. So shift and click, 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 and delete. There's also, I think, an actual delete tool, but I don't know. I always just use the delete key. Okay. Rounded rectangle works exactly the same way as rectangle. The only thing is you do have your wrench and pencil here, and you basically tell it the size of your corners in it. I really have never used that on a drawing, but it's there. So it's there. Okay. And I want to share, and by the way, I want to tell you that just because I've never used something does not mean that you will not find it incredibly useful. Okay. Because Vectorworks gives you lots of ways to achieve something, and you choose the way that works best for you and your brain and the way you think. And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that, you know, certain commands didn't exist when I started using Vectorworks. And so I got good at doing things the old-fashioned way. And sometimes the command comes along like, ooh, I love this new command. I'll use it for everything. And sometimes I'm like, no, not going to bother. Circles. You got lots of circle modes. I actually have used all of these circle modes. Circle modes are really helpful because there's a lot of things, especially as a lighting designer, where we're going to be drawing a lot of circles. So explore them at your leisure. I'm going to give you guys a couple moments to explore them and click on them and see what they do and see if they behave the way you expect them to. And again, you can always use your tab key and put in actual dimensions. For that one. The fourth one, you actually have to draw lines first and then use the circle command. And if you're looking at why the heck would I need some of these, think about when you're doing a more complicated drawing and sometimes you need to put a circle that fits inside something or connects something, and that's where these circle commands become useful. Okay. Okay. Has everyone played with the circle tool? Great. We're going to move on to the ellipse tool. Oops. The ellipse tool, I'm going to tell you, is I find to be one of the challenging tools to get it to do what I want it to do. The second mode, well, I don't know. I keep thinking that one of these modes works better than the other, but I'm not sure any of them really do. The box mode draws an ellipse. You basically draw the rectangle in which the ellipse would sit, and it draws the ellipse into it. Yeah, the center mode is probably the most useful. I also don't spend a lot of time drawing ellipses, except when I was trying to draw the waves for the set for Pirates of Penzance that you guys have been working on, or will be working on. Okay. Andrew, did you get the file to download?
No, not yet. I'm still playing on
Okay. So it's not working on that computer either?
No, it's me.
Okay.
Unless everybody else is having problems.
This computer won't let me log on to Vectorworks on this. I'm using it on my laptop.
Okay. It won't let you log on to Vectorworks?
Yeah, it tells me that it can't find a server on the network. And it wants me to do a manual port.
Okay.
And the module is
If can you do me a favor, because I know you usually sit there, can you check it on Wednesday? And if it's also not working on Wednesday, I'm going to drop computer services. I will say that this is a networked Vectorworks, and every once in a while the computer will forget that it's connected to the Vectorworks server, and often it comes back. But if you ever find that, shift to another computer for the day. See if you can swap with someone who's using a laptop. Okay, so we're going to not do the arc tool. You can figure that out. The freehand tool I have never found useful, but maybe it's because I'm not very good with a mouse. Okay, we're now going to talk about the polyline and the polygon tool. Okay, and here's what I'm going to tell you about the polyline tool. It will make you cry. If your polylines do not go into 3 dimensions well, rectangles, rounded rectangles, circles, ovals go into the 3-dimensional world very well. Life is happy. If you're going to eventually make an object starting 2D and eventually make it 3D, the polyline tool is not your friend. Okay? It is the way to make you cry. I'm just saying. I'm just going to start off saying that. Now let's talk about the polygon tool. The polygon tool is a wonderful tool. Okay? And it's a wonderful tool because it will go into 3 dimensions very well. Okay? At the moment you're going to say, wait, I can do so much more with the polyline tool. And I'm telling you, yes, you can. Polyline tool is only good in 2 dimensions. I don't care what the manual says that you can take it into 3 dimensions. It will upset you. I'm just going to say, trust me on this. And if you are determined, like I'm sure Cody is, because I just told him something was hard to do, to master it, go for it. I find more students coming to me with, oh, this just won't work. Did you use the polyline tool? Maybe. Yeah, start over with the polygon tool and everything will work the way you expect it to. Okay. And every version, Vectorworks says the polyline tool is getting better. It has burned me so often that I'm always very distrustful of it. And there are a couple things that you will have to use, that you may find you have to use it for. Explore it on your own, but that way you know what you're getting into.
it's better than the AutoCAD polyline.
I wouldn't know. I've never used the AutoCAD polyline tool. Okay, so the polygon tool. We love the polygon tool. Okay. So the basic polygon tool, there's one thing you have to remember about it, but it's going to draw a bunch of vertices. Click, 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 click. Look, I'm making a weird shape. Unlike everything else, this is a very, okay. The one thing you must do to have your polygon tool work well in 3D, to have it do all the magical things that the polygon tool can do, is you have to close it at the end. Okay? Now this is where we're going to introduce a concept. Okay, and by the way, what is that? I don't know. It's an ink blot. I don't know. It's whatever you want it to be. I want to introduce you guys to the snapping palette, because it's very important. So I'm going to close my snapping palette so I can reopen it. Yours may already be open. Window palette snapping. Okay. The snapping palette looks like this. And we've got all these modes, and the light colored ones are not selected and the dark colored ones are selected. Okay. Snap to grid. So remember, this is actually a giant piece of graph paper. You just can't see it. Snap to grid is going to snap to the grid, which you can't see, which I don't find to be super helpful. Next one. Yeah, stop it. Next one is snap to object. It snaps to endpoints and center points. I find that one super helpful. I have that one on almost all the time. When you are doing a light plot, you will actually need that on because you will need to snap to the electrics or the lights won't attach to the electrics. Yes, you can save. Okay, next one is snap to angle. Remember we had our restricted lines? That is a forceful snap to angle. With this snap to angle, it'll let me draw an unconstrained line. But if I get close to 45 degrees, it's going to say, oh, I bet you want 45 degrees, and it's going to move my mouse there. Ooh, I bet you want 30 degrees. Next one is snap to intersection. For the moment, I'm going to turn off all the others. They are very good tools. I'm just going to turn them off at the moment because they're probably a little beyond what we need today. But we've got the snap to object, and I'll even turn off because snap to object is the big one we need for this, because we need to make sure that we actually close. And see, if I come down here, notice my mouse is not near that corner, that vertice where I need to close, but as I get kind of close, it just jumps over there. Okay, that is it being helpful. Okay, if you're like, no, I have more things to draw in there, you can turn this off for a moment, and now I can get really close. Okay, but now I want to actually close it off. Turn my snap to vertice back on, snap to object, and it closes. Okay. If you're ever working with a polygon and it's not working properly, it's probably not closed. And I'm going to just draw one that's not closed. If you double click on an endpoint, it will end it without closing it. Notice you can see that though it's filled in here, but there's not a line running along the edge. Okay, so that is not going to behave well. That's going to behave pretty much like a polyline, which are evil. Okay. By the way, the Vectorworks people hate that I keep calling their polylines evil. They're very useful for their limited function. The other thing you should not do with a polygon tool, although it sort of works now, is cross itself. Okay. We'll get to why or what to do if that's really what you want to make. The better thing to do is to make two triangles that are just touching on the point. Okay. And speaking of making triangles, underneath the polygon tool, we have the triangle tool. Yay. Okay. The triangle tool, when you start, says, oh, do you want 3 even sides? Sure. Boom. Which side do I want? I want this side. There you go. I'll tell you, I generally just make a polygon if I want a triangle, because I find the helpfulness to be not very helpful. If you hold down the polygon tool, there should be a triangle tool that will pop up underneath it. It's like a submenu. So if you look really closely at the polygon tool, has a little black arrow in the lower right hand corner. Okay, click and hold that black arrow, and you'll get the tools that are underneath it. Okay, and because polygon is a very, very special, or a triangle is a very, very special polygon, right? It is a polygon with 3 sides. So that's why it's hidden under there.
Do you always have your object info window open?
I do, and when we're doing lighting design, you'll find that there's a super good reason for always having that open.
Is there a way to get the paper view out of the way while you're working? I mean, is that something that you need? The paper.
This over here.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. But except it is here and very obvious because of the way I've set the drawing up. What you can always do, I'll be showing you at the end of class how to move your piece of paper. That's going to be one of our last things we're going to learn today. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so triangles, yeah, polygon tool, pretty much what you need. Okay. So we can draw a bunch of basic shapes. I hesitate to tell you what your assignment of homework is now because I don't want you to get started quite yet because I have a couple more tools to show you. But I'm going to tell you anyway because I'm going to trust you all to be adults. And not like a kid in a candy store, which I'm looking at some of your expressions and this is looking like kid in a candy store moment because this is fun. At least this group. Your assignment is to draw a picture using these tools. Okay? A picture of what? I don't care. It can be a smiley face. It can be your dog. It can be a TARDIS. I had a student draw a TARDIS once. It was really cool. Okay? That's it. I basically use a couple of tools to draw a pretty thing. Okay? You are not graded on your artistic merit. It is, did you use a couple of tools to draw something and were you able to get it out of Vectorworks? I haven't taught you how to get it out of Vectorworks yet, so that's how I'm going to keep your attention for a bit. Okay?
What happens when you lose your drawing into outer space?
You start over. Like I said, many of you will probably finish this today, and I can stay after. Oh, yes, I can stay after class today until my next class starts, and there's no one in this room, so you guys can work. I will do the same thing on Wednesday, and this drawing is due on Friday before class starts. Okay. Whatever it is. Okay, be creative, have fun. If you don't have a ton of time, be creative and have fun in a short amount of time. Okay. Again, I'm not looking for Picasso here. You know, a snowman with a pipe or a house or something is fine. Okay. So, a couple of other tools. So we can make these shapes. That's fine. We looked at how to do a rotated rectangle. Okay. I will tell you that I almost never, in fact, that would have been a much faster way to do what I was drawing last night, and I still didn't do it, because what I tend to do is I tend to draw an object, and oh look, I want to get rid of that one. That one's bad. I've got an object here, and it's lovely, but it's not an angle I want it at. I want to rotate it. So I want to show you guys the rotation tool. The rotate tool is the circle-y thing. Okay. The rotate tool has two modes. It has a just rotate it and a duplicate and rotate. Which one do you need? Depends on what you're doing. But I want to show you that both of these exist because you might be able to do a really cool picture using your rotate tool. Okay. So what you do is you start by clicking one spot. That is your center point for your rotation. You click another spot, and that's where you start your rotation. And your third click sets your rotation. And if your image or object you're rotating isn't too complicated, you can watch it rotate. So we can see it rotating there. If you have a really complicated object, like, I don't know, the staircase in Measure for Measure, you don't get such a great picture of it rotating because the object is just too complicated for it to render quickly. Okay. And there it is. Oh, I duplicated it. If I don't want to duplicate it, okay. The one tricky thing with this, and this is one place where I think AutoCAD is superior. Don't tell Brody I said that. But you must select the object first before you select the rotate tool. If you don't have the object selected first, you got to hold down Control or something to select it. But the easy way is to select the object, then select the tool. I really like that AutoCAD is the other way around. But don't tell Brody. Because then he'll want me to use AutoCAD. He'll say, look, he found a reason. Okay. If I turn with my snapping, if I turn my snap angles on, because, oh, look, I drew this triangle, but it's at a funky angle. I actually want it straight. It's really easy to do. With my snaps on, click one corner, click the next corner, and then come out and get close to straight across, and watch, it'll snap to straight across. Now notice it's going straight across, but the angle says negative 30.66 degrees. That's because that is the angle of my rotation, not the finished angle of my line. Okay, and that's why I really like the snaps for this, because it will snap me to straight across. And now I have a triangle that's resting on a pivot, and if I do, okay, and I'm going to bring this one down here and move it, and I'm just doing that with the select tool, just grabbing it and dragging it. Oh, you know what? This is kind of cool. I think I want a second one of these, and I want to just kind of mirror it. This is called our mirror tool. Much like duplicate, it has a duplicate a mirror or just mirror. I'm going to do it in the duplicate and mirror mode. I'm going to do that.
When you clicked, did you click a point where you want the mirror image?
Yeah, so it's actually 2 points. So you're basically with the mirror tool, you're going to draw a line, and it's going to mirror across that line. So I can draw a line at an angle, I can draw a line straight up and down. Okay. And again, if your object isn't too complicated, it will show it to you in light blue. If your object is too complicated, it won't. And then I'm going to do a polygon right here. Just to kind of show you what your project might look like. And then I'm going to do a circle. Whoops, not that circle. Center circle. And I'm going to send that to the back. So modify send to back. And scoot this down a little bit. And I'm going to put a little rectangle on the top. Oops. And look, I have just made a jack-o'-lantern using one that I can obviously see I used 1, 2, 3, 4 tools. I actually used a couple more because I used some mirror tools in there. And woohoo, that is as complicated as your Vectorworks assignment 1 has to be. Okay? Those of you that are overachievers can do a TARDIS or can do something really complicated. You know, I could do something because I could do a couple lines in here to kind of, I don't know, give it whiskers. So I have a... Yeah, okay. There, I've done a jack-o'-lantern cat. Okay, and so I'm going to go... A cat-o'-lantern. There we go. Okay. Are we done yet? No, because there's one problem with everything I've done. If you look at the file you've been working on, you'll see that it tells you, draw your assignment inside the box and type your name inside the box. Did we do any of that inside the box? Nope. So it's no good. Bye-bye, cat-o'-lantern. I like that, Jules. And now I've just outed you to everyone who watches the YouTube video that you're the one who said it. So how do we type our name? We haven't done that yet. Okay, well, do you see the letter T in your basic tools? That is your typing or your text tool. Select it, type. C-H-R-I-S. Here is one place where using the X tool does not get you back to your arrow. All you will do is type X, 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 X a million times. If you ever look at one of my drawings, you will find that many of my text boxes end in the letter X because I forget that, and then I have to go back and clean them up and go, oh yeah, get rid of that. Back out all those X's. Okay. And then to get out of it, you can hit escape, or you can just select another tool. If, I'm going to zoom in on this, we did the zoom in tool before, but that's the little magnifying glass. It also has modes which you can play with. If I need to edit it, I just double click on it, double click, and I can put my last name. Yay. Okay. And now I just have to draw the shape inside the box. I'm going to draw the shape inside the box really quickly. Whoops, I selected the wrong object. Select the mirror and give him a mouth. We'll give him a frowny face.
Now, is Spotlight?
Go ahead, ask. Is Spotlight?
Is Spotlight the template? Is the Spotlight template for lighting?
Yes. Okay. And there are various tool sets. Spotlight is one of them. There are various modes to work in. When we get to that point, we'll get you into Spotlight mode. At the moment, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
My guess is these probably all defaulted to Architect because I think they default to the one that's alphabetically first.
You can choose it, I think.
Yes, you can. You absolutely can choose it. Spotlight is primarily the one for theater and lighting, although if you're a scenic designer, you probably spend a lot of time in architecture mode because architecture mode has a couple of other nifty things in it. Okay, so there is my sad pumpkin. It is kind of sad.
Can't you flip it upside down?
I could.
It's like a smiley
I could, but at the moment, because
face.
I know, but it's not a terribly good pumpkin.
Fit better too.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we now have to print this. If you have your laptop at home and you're going to print this, it's really easy. File, print. And hopefully you're hooked up to a printer and it prints. It will print exactly what is in, well, it'll actually print what is on the blue grid. That is your piece of paper. Okay? If you're like, oh no, I need to print this at the ASG lab. Do we think the ASG lab has Vectorworks in it? It doesn't. We got these licenses for free if I wanted to put it anywhere else on campus. Yeah. And we like free. We like free a lot.
So now, is this an 8.5 by 11?
This is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper.
Okay, so
I have set that up for you in advance.
Okay.
And we'll be getting into how you set up your light plot later on in the semester so you can do it on an architecture C-size page or whatever. Okay. That setup can get a little involved, so I didn't want to get into that today. Okay. So if you're on a Mac, at this point, the easiest way to export it to a PDF, which you can take and print anywhere, is to go print and then click on the PDF in this corner of the window that pops up. Save as PDF. Obviously, you need to name it. Let's not put it in downloads. Let's put it on my desktop. And I'm going to just put my name in it so that I can know that it's my thing that's graded. Come over to my desktop. And desktop. And oh, date modified. Ah, where'd it go? No, seriously, where'd it go? Okay, let's try that again. I've never had that not work before. PDF, save as PDF. It's in my downloads folder. Let's try that again. Desktop.
Now, is there a cloud base in Vectorworks? Is there like, it's not like Autodesk 360?
No, it's not. What I do to back up, I use my AutoCAD or my Vectorworks files are in Dropbox, but Dropbox syncs with my computer, so I always have it locally. And then every once in a while, Dropbox goes, "Oh, nothing's happening. Let me go shove some things up to the cloud for a while." Okay, and there we go. That is as complicated as you need to be. Those of you that are like, "That is really bad art, Chris," make me better art. Okay, okay. This assignment is supposed to be fun. This assignment is supposed to get you having fun using tools. And then you can take this anywhere and get it printed. Okay. So I want to show you a couple of other things in here. Let's say that you happen to draw this outside the box and you're like, No, I don't want to move it. Okay, no, notice I just blocked everything. I did a box around everything with my selection tool. It was highlighted and I moved it. Okay, but if that is too much drama for you, you can move the paper. Okay, now when you move the paper, the box that's telling you to draw inside this so it prints well will not go along with it. But notice your pan tool has a little arrow next to it. The little arrow next to it, of course, means that there is another tool hiding underneath. The tool hiding underneath is your Move Page tool. Okay? So, Alex, this is the question you were asking earlier. Okay? So, now my thing looks like this. I click and I drag and I move my paper. And now my paper is over there. Okay? And if I use the print command, it will print whatever is on the paper. Okay. There are more sophisticated ways to print. We have, I think it's Vectorworks Lesson 8 is devoted to more sophisticated ways to print. Okay? That's not till Thanksgiving time.
So is that effectively a layer?
No, it's your paper.
It's paper space.
No, it's not paper space. Paper space is what we're going to do in Vectorworks. I think it's Lesson 8.
Never mind.
It is physically your paper. And it is in this file. Please notice I said in this file. It is your default paper that whatever printer you're connected to is set up to print. Which means if you're one of those weird people who has your printer set up to something weird, in theory, I say in theory because I can never test this because I'm not changing my standard printers, that this should update, but which means your box will not work. But I'm assuming all of you are going to be hooked up to an 8.5 by 11, or you're going to take the PDF file. By the way, your PDF file is also going to create what's on that blue grid, that piece of paper, is what it's going to print. There are, for any of you panicking, going, but my light plot's going to be much bigger than that. Yes, it will, and we use a different way of printing. Okay, was that a question, Alex?
Yeah, so, and just for me to wrap my mind around it, so this in essence is just basically a paper viewport, or a printing viewport for this particular drawing.
You can think of this as a printing viewport for this drawing, although I would rather you didn't use that vocabulary. Only because, again, viewports are a very specific thing in the software. And I try really hard to use the right terminology so that when we get to it, you're like, oh, I get it. I like to think of this as my piece of paper that is floating around my giant three-dimensional drawing. And even though everything we did today is 2D, this is still a three-dimensional drawing. We just didn't enter 3D space. Okay? And so I like to just think of this as I slide this underneath whatever it is I want, and then that's what prints. Okay?
Kind of enters space by sending things backwards.
No, we didn't.
Isn't that the Z-plane?
It isn't. All of these objects are on the 0-inch Z-plane. Even though they're stacked, they are still infinitely thin and can all occupy the 0-inch 3D plane. And I will tell you that was one of the hardest things for me to wrap my head around in Vectorworks. Because in AutoCAD to get that stacking, well, I should say that. In the AutoCAD I learned on in grad school, which was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the only way you got to do that stacking stuff was to make an object 3D and then literally put them at 1 inch off the ground and 2 inch off the ground and 3 inch off the ground, which was a pain in the neck. So these are all actually on exactly the same space in the 3D world. They're literally inside of each other.
Is there like a separate property that tells you the stack of that particular?
Yeah, you just use send forward and send back till you get it where you want. The fact of the matter is, the 2D stuff is going to come important at the end of the semester for doing your final light plot, doing the pretty paper stuff. And it's the basis of building your 3D objects. So in all honesty, very few things that you build in Vectorworks in 2D are going to stay 2D for more than a minute. And once an object has a three-dimensional setting, that takes precedence over everything. The only other time you'll need it is a light is a 2D object and a 3D object at exactly the same time, which means it is possible to accidentally get your light underneath your pipe for display purposes, and that's the other time when you would need, but you just send your pipes to the bottom, and they're fine. Because pipes can live on the bottom. They're perfectly happy. But yeah, the 2D objects stack, but they all stack in exactly the same place if you were to move into 3D. Okay. But that's a good question. And you guys are a little more sophisticated with 2D and 3D than a lot of other classes have been, which is a good thing. Any other questions? Okay, you guys have 12 minutes now, and like I said, I can be here till I have to get to my other class, to do Vectorworks Assignment 1. Again, I will be able to do some of this after class on Wednesday as well, so you should not need to do Vectorworks Assignment 1 at home if you don't want to. Okay? Okay. I'm going to end the recording. Oh, Schnockgrass, where's the recording? Oh, there it is.